All right, looking at page 13, number 1 of your booklet, it states PQRS is a parallelogram. So already I see that they haven't marked anything about the parallelogram on my diagram. So it says calculate the sizes of its interior angles. That means that they want to know what P, Q, R, and S, all of them are. So if I want to know the interior angles, I don't need to know anything about the sides. And I can see that I'm going to use my opposite angles of a palm. So I'm just going to quickly mark what I know about the interior angles of a palm, that opposite angles are equal. Okay. And from here I can equate, I say that Q is equal to S because opposite angles of a palm are equal. Therefore I can say 5x minus 12 equals 3x plus 18. And I can solve for x. And then once I have x, I can figure out everything else. So looking at my solution, okay, yes, you can see that. Okay, in my solution, so I said Q equal to S, opposite angles of a palm, and I equated those two expressions like I said. Solve for x, x is 15, but they didn't ask us just for x. If they asked us just for x, we could stop there. But they asked us for each interior angle. So we need to then substitute in x equals 15 to find the full value of Q, which is 63 degrees. Let's write that on the diagram. So Q we now found is 63 degrees. That means that S is also 63 degrees. I've already used my op angles of a palm, but if you want to write it again here, that's fine. Now, to figure out what P and R are, I need to use another property of the parallelogram because I know that these are co-interior, but I haven't stated which angles are equal. So I'm going to use which sides are parallel. Okay, so I'm going to use PS parallel to QR. And once I have PS parallel to QR, I have my C shape or U shape, which means that I can work out that P is 117 degrees, right? Subtracting from 180. So P is 117 degrees, co-interior angles PS parallel to QR. You could have done R first, and then you would use a different set of parallel lines. And then lastly, I have R is equal to 117 degrees, op angles of a palm. So it's a relatively simple question that requires a fair amount of showing your steps. So please don't miss any of that. Again, if you didn't follow anything, pause the video now that you see both the full solution and make sure you understand. Okay, last one, moving on to number 3. Moving on to number 3. It says in parallelogram ABCD. So again, they haven't shown us on the diagram any of my parallel lines, so I might bring that into play. AB equals 50, that's shown on the diagram. BC is 80, that's on the diagram. And BAD is 110. Notice I'm checking to make sure that everything in the statement is shown on the diagram. If it's not, then I can write it in. E is a point on AD such that AE is equal to AB, that's shown, and BEC is equal to 75 degrees, that's shown. Okay, so before I even start reading the questions, I'm going to start labeling my diagram with the information they've given me. If AB is 50, that means that AE is also 50 millimeters. So straight away I can see what ED is going to be, right? Because BC is opposite, so I can work out that ED is 30 millimeters if I need it. We also know that opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. So if AB is 50, that means that CD is also 50 millimeters. And because I have side lengths, I can be pretty sure that I'm going to have to use that property of a parallelogram. Okay. But they've asked us in the first question, now I can look at the questions, they've asked us for this angle CED. Let's highlight that. They want this angle CED. Well, it's not immediately apparent how to work that out because that's within this triangle, or I see that it's angles on a straight line. So if I can work out something in D or C, or if I can work out this angle AEB, then I can figure it out. Well, I see that in triangle AEB is an isosceles triangle, which means that this angle AEB, I'm going to call it X, has to be equal to ABE. Let's call that one X as well. Because this is an isosceles triangle, so I have angles opposite equal sides. Angles opposite equal sides. And I can work out now, because I have A, I can work out what X is. Subtracting from 180, 180 minus 110 is 70, and then divide by 2, we get X is equal to 35 degrees. Okay, but there's a fair amount of working that we need to show in that. Once I know that this small angle AEB is 35, then I can subtract angles on a straight line and work out that CED is equal to 70 degrees. All right. But the key thing is to be able to actually show that working. So I figured out the value, but you guys know that the value really isn't worth much without the reasons. Okay. So let's look at my solution here. Make sure we can see it. Okay. So the solution here, I've said angle AEB, that was this one, is equal to angle ABE, this one, and I've called them both X just to make things a little bit easier. Again, angles opposite equal sides, and because there are a few different equal sides, I've stated AE equals AB. You don't have to do this. If you just wrote angles op equal sides, you'd be fine. Okay, therefore I said 110 plus x, which is 2x, is equal to 180, sum angles of a triangle. Again, if you just had sum angles in triangle, that's fine, but I've been very specific and said triangle ABE. I like to do this with more complicated diagrams. Worked out that x was 35 degrees. You don't need to show any other working than that. Therefore, I said x plus 75 plus angle CED is equal to 180, angles on a straight line. Therefore, CED is 70, right? And I've shown some substitution here, but if you went straight to see angle CED is 70, that's fine. Okay, then this next one is pretty tricky. So it says, find the lengths of the sides in triangle CED. So again, let's highlight triangle CED so that we know which triangle we're talking about. Triangle CED. So we already know, because we did it at the beginning, side CD is 50 millimeters, and we know why that is. And we said at the beginning, if BC is 80, we know AE is 50, so ED has to be 30 millimeters. 30 plus 50 gives me 80. Okay. But now this missing side CE is not immediately obvious how to do this. Missing side CE. Well, I can see that it's not an equilateral triangle because this one's 30 and this one's 50, so that eliminates that straight away. If it were a 90-degree triangle, I could use Pythagoras to figure out the missing length because I have two side lengths. So let's see if this angle D is going to give me a 90-degree angle. Okay. Now, because it's a parallelogram again, I can use co-interior angles because I know that A is 110. I have parallel sides because it's a parallelogram. So I can work out that D is 70 degrees, co-interior angles, right? So this plus this add up to 180. Oh, I'm going to use the other one. Sorry, I'm going to use AB parallel to CD for that. Okay, so co-interior angles, I have 110 plus 70 are supplementary, add up to 180. And now we can see 70 and 70, that should trigger, oh, it's an isosceles triangle. That means that if this side is opposite to 70, I have sides opposite equal angles now. So EC has to be equal to 50 millimeters. Very tricky problem, that. Okay, so let's look at my solution. Again, CD equals 50. That was easy. Opsides of palm, we did that right at the beginning. AD is equal to 80, opsides of palm. Therefore, simple algebra, ED is 30 millimeters. Okay, so those are the easy ones. Then, state which sides are parallel, because it's a parallelogram. It wasn't shown on the diagram, so we have to state it. AB parallel to CD, opsides of palm. Therefore, I said D was 70, co-interior angles, and I state my parallel lines. Therefore, EC is equal to CD, and this is your converse sides, op equal angles. Therefore, EC is 50 millimeters. So that's quite a challenging one, but I don't think it's unattainable. From here, you should be able to do most of the problems that I've assigned you for, well, you should be able to do all the problems that I've assigned you for day 3 and 4. Some of them might be slightly different to these examples that I've shown you, but I feel very confident that you can figure them out. Please let me know if you have any questions, and good luck. No video tomorrow. We'll come back on day 5.